Well, work-wise, we've been working on our third record, but I probably shouldn't even say that much.
We just finished the soundtrack to a documentary called Beyond Clueless.
Well, it was great actually, because it was completely different. Instead of kind of just sitting in a room, the two of us like butting heads until we come up with something good, we had someone else giving us sort of creative input and saying, do something that's going to work over this, do something that's going to fit with this, and it just meant that we always had a starting point and an idea of what to do, which, although it's kind of like having constraints, really sort of frees you up creatively, which is one of the weird contradictory truths of any kind of creative job.
It's a mixture of both. There's some that are just instrumental, there are some vocals. Yeah, it was really fun, and hopefully we're going to do some live performances of it at some point with the film in the summer.
Yeah. And we're actually going to play one of the songs from the soundtrack tonight. It's so early, we're just kind of putting ideas together at the moment. We haven't even really started writing, really.
He's lying.
It's very... it's very, very early. But we're starting on it, that's the main thing.
Good. It's funny though, because it was very difficult to write. It was probably for me anyway, it was the hardest kind of thing that we've ever worked on, in terms of finding sort of ideas, and also because we'd wanted it to just be about writing songs about who we were and our kind of lives, which I actually found really, really difficult, because normally we write about other people or characters, or kind of through this sort of conduit, I guess, or kind of concept. So yeah, so now in terms of writing the third album, that just feels like a breeze in comparison. Same with the soundtrack, because I think that we've learned a lot about what we need in order to sort of write easily and successfully. I think it's tricky because you never want to share too much, but at the same time I think because of things like Pledge that we did to kind of fund the first album, and just in the way that this did sort of happen by accident, so therefore when we meet people who like the band it's always this really nice surprise. We were never really, I don't know, there's been a sort of openness, I guess, with the people that we've met through the band, which is really nice and which we actually really enjoy. And so being able to sort of share like more personal things is actually really nice and feels really natural, as opposed to sort of having a divide or a sort of public persona, I guess. And in a way, sometimes I'm like, well, maybe it'd be better if we were sort of much more mysterious, but actually this is who we are, yeah. So I think it's like, it's a balance, but it's really nice, and the response has been, we've never had anything really negative. One person. I blocked her.
I mean, I think our attitude towards the internet is just to be very sort of common sense about it, and to, you know, you don't want to be people who are constantly plugging stuff, but it's okay to plug stuff a little bit, because that's why people are following you, you know, it's because they're interested in what you're doing. And it's good to be funny, but it's, you know, probably not a good idea to be offensive unless you want to be known as someone who's constantly being offensive. So we just try and be ourselves, really.
Yeah.
I think some people came away with the idea when we did when we put our first song out there, and as you say, you know, we were sort of doing these sort of Svengali-esque machinations on purpose to kind of, as part of this really, really sneaky plan of becoming massive, but we weren't. It was just a kind of joke. And
kind of because we weren't that comfortable doing it yet as well, or I wasn't.
Well, when the very first time we put anything online, we literally didn't intend for anyone to hear it. We just put it on. was just a joke. It wasn't even a joke between us and someone else. It was a joke between the two of us, you know. And the idea of being this fake band of Swedish teenagers really appealed to me, but I wasn't, you know, intending for no one else to hear it or see it. And then when they did, it was really nice. I think people really stress over this stuff way too much, and it's you know, people are like, oh, I'm not going to really put any of my songs on the internet because I don't, you know, want to make sure the reveal is right. Or it's just nonsense. Just put something out there, and if people like it, great. Unless you hate the way that we've done it.
I actually think that I think there's loads of different ways of doing it, and I think there are some people, someone like Lana Del Rey or something, where it appeared that she had just sort of done it herself, when actually I think there were a lot of people behind the scenes. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that, because I think if that's what, you know, that is clearly how she is comfortable as an artist, and I think a lot of people probably find that really interesting and exciting. Yeah, I think so. I think the main thing is to sort of, you know, if you want to be somebody who has a sort of online thing that is yours, and like is it Fires? Always like people like Five. Always, sorry, I always get them mixed up. But like things where you have, this is the way that I do it, and this is how I present everything, and it's a set thing. I think that can be really nice.
Yeah, and aesthetic,
and a unity towards, like, across the board of like how you engage with stuff. But it's totally, and it's something as well that, as you said, like it's really important that it can evolve, and you know, you can change as a person and as an artist and stuff. But yeah, just don't say anything that you wouldn't want to be put in front of you by your mum and said, why did you say that, darling?
Unless, you know, you have that relationship.
Unless you are an artist who is trying to annoy your mum. In which case,
which I think
sounds like quite a good angle.
Yeah, a few bands who are definitely going
that. Oh, mine was Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine at Brixton Academy, and I remember I was a bit scared.
Mine was Michael Jackson at the Wembley Arena, and I remember he didn't turn up, and we had to come back another day. But we saw Criss Cross twice, so, you know.
Whoa, did you?
Is that what they were?
Were they wearing back to front clothing?
They're the ones that were supporting Michael Jackson in the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
And then, yes.
How would
yes, they were. How should I know if they were wearing back to front clothing?
Because that's what they did.
How far away Wembley Arena were you at when you're singing? Plus, there's only 10. Something like that.
One of the best things that I've ever seen was actually my two. One was Laura Marling. I'm not even that big a Laura Marling fan, but when I saw her, I cried. It was just so beautiful. And then the other one was, I saw Meishi once. Do you remember Meishi? They were this amazing, quite small band from America who just were absolutely incredible live, and they would like hand out instruments to people, and then they would kind of unfurl this like huge sort of tent that everyone would be under, and they would start off the songs like a kind of different edges of the room, and then all kind of go to the stage together. And it was just like, their songs as well were incredible, but it was this really sort of amazing live show in very small venues.
Mine would probably be Arcade Fire when I saw them during Funeral. Again, it was that very kind of inclusive thing where they came into the crowd and did stuff, and you just, all their songs on that record were such sing-along anthems. You just felt like you were part of it. I remember as everyone was walking out, they were all like singing one of the that's one of the songs.
Oh, that's
really nice. And yeah, in the middle of one of the songs, all the lights suddenly went out and then like came back up very gradually, and then he was like waving around this like power supply that had been cut in half and yelling something about like someone trying to sabotage or so, and I couldn't work out if it was part of the show or if it actually happened, which is I think when something happens at a show you're not sure if it's a, I mean it was obviously staged now I think about it. I come to tell us a little bit about it. I'm going to say Sufjan Stevens every time he's played, because I've still never seen him, and he's someone who kind of changes his set radically every time he plays, and so I'm gutted that I'll never get to see him doing Chicago or The Age of Ads.
I would have loved to have seen the Beatles.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Like maybe at one of the shows before there were loads of girls screaming as well.
I don't think there were any shows.
There were, right at the very beginning.
Yeah, but
I'd
they were just
also
being
loved to
covered.
see the Sex Pistols.
I would have said Kate Bush because she's touring soon. So,
Yeah.
well, is it still touring if you just played one venue?
Yes.
Okay.
Also Fleetwood Mac, we would want to see it with Christine maybe.
Well, she's rejoining.
I know, yeah. But I don't.
That's a problem, you know.
Yeah.
Awkward. Okay.
I don't know if it'll be the same. Oh!
Okay, I've got one.
It's not actually it's actually gossip, so it's not.
Yeah, it's not a secret. My secret, and this isn't a very good one, but sometimes my trousers start to fall down while I'm playing on stage, and I have to sort of stop what I'm doing, sort of pull them back up again. And there was this period when I wanted to jump up and down on stage a lot, and it was an especially big problem then, because you'd be jumping up and down, getting really enthusiastic, and realise you'd have to stop playing and stop jumping in order to adjust the trousers. It's a big issue. Need a belt. I haven't got one today actually, might be an issue tonight.